either one of these any good?
Wow, this is a good movie.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, the director from yesterday doesn't think so.
It stinks.
You sorry? You waste our film.
It's so bad! Into June now, so serious summer movie season, and we'll dig into it as always. Welcome. This is the Screening Room Podcast, and she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And we are from madwolf.com. Let's start with the latest in the Bad Boys saga, when their former captain is implicated in corruption. 2 Miami police officers have to work to clear his name. Bad Boys, ride or die.
You're being set up, detectives.
We got 2 suspects, Lowry and Burnett. They're armed and dangerous.
In 5, 4, 3.
No! Windshield wiper fluid! It's flammable!
I ain't no damn scientist.
Y'all are some terrible fugitives.
I can feel like 80 rents in my memories. Me and Drizzy back to back is getting scary. Put some bins all on your head like dysentery.
I need nasty Mike. Bad boy. I got this. What you don't do?
Joey Pants, right?
Joey Pants.
That's who they say was a bad guy all the while.
Yes. Joey Pants has passed away, if you remember from the last installment. And his name has been sullied since then. But he saw this coming, and he left behind one of those tapes to be opened in case of my death. One of those deals.
Do you have one of those, George?
As far as you know. And that leads our 2 heroes, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, on the trail to not only clear his name, but then they get implicated as well.
Yep.
They get framed as murderers and part of this drug cartel money laundering business. And so they have to clear his name and get off a bunch of wisecracks. And you know how it goes by now in the 4th installment of the Bad Boys series. Now, this is one, and we mentioned this today on our TV gig. I feel more out of step with the public perception on this series, I think, than anything else. People love this series.
They do, yeah. No,
and we do not.
No. And it's funny, even going back to, I reviewed the second one, the second installment for the other paper back in the day.
Yeah,
I got no love for this series, and I hated the third one.
Well, I reviewed the last one.
Yes.
It was awful, just awful, and people loved it.
They loved it.
People loved it.
So here's what we're saying.
Right.
If you loved the first 3, this is more of that.
It is. It's a lot more of that. It's everything that you've come to love. The directors, Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah, and I apologize if I butchered those. They direct together, and it's a lot of action, and there are some interesting ways that they frame some of the action sequences.
That is true.
There's a good one in the elevator that I liked a lot. But then they switch sort of on a dime. Every now and then it'll be a point of view action shooter game type of thing.
Like a first-person shooter,
yeah. And that comes up every now and then. So some of it works. The humor to me is still just it's so forced. I mean, if by now you still think it's funny for Martin Lawrence to go into a convenience store and just make funny faces and drool over a 2-day-old hot dog, is that funny?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Everything is it's like that, mugging.
Yeah.
It's just so obvious. The humor is so obvious, and everything about the story beats. I mean, we've already talked about Joey Pants and his character, and then now Will Smith, he has married his physical therapist, because he was shot up at the end of the last one. So he's married his physical therapist. And, of course, he has that son came in from the last one.
That's right.
He comes into play in this one a lot because he's sort of, he's wanted as well. He's an outlaw. So he comes into the fold and helps out, and maybe he's wanted as well. And then you've got Martin Lawrence, the comic foil, as he usually is.
Yeah.
This time he has a heart attack, near-death experience. So he comes back, seen some things on the other side that makes him feel he's more enlightened now, and that ridiculousness.
Yeah.
And much like the Fast and Furious franchise, I think every time they just feel the need to go bigger, more closer to an outright superhero story, more ridiculous, and they do that. But I tell you, like you said, if you like that and you like this series, you'll get more of it.
Right.
And it is better than the last one. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And you can look forward to a Jerry Bruckheimer cameo.
Oh, good.
Yeah, who doesn't do that? So it's pretty easy to figure out if you'd like this. If this is your bag, the whole Bad Boys saga, it's more of what you like. For us, not so much. And it is in theaters now. Bad Boys Ride or Die. Okay, how about a horror mystery on the big screen? Yes. You've got our attention. A young artist gets stranded in an extensive, immaculate forest in Western Ireland, where, after finding shelter, she becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers, stalked by mysterious creatures each night. This is The Watchers.
How long have you been here?
I don't know.
You've never seen one.
No one sees one and survives.
They have come to our world for a reason.
I'm not supposed to be here, and I'm not staying here.
They allow us to live because we follow their rules. You have broken too many.
What did he say?
I'm trying to get in.
Try not to die.
I saw myself.
Someone's out there.
Please open the door.
John? My husband's outside.
This is a trick.
Oh my God.
This is from director Ishana Shyamalan, M. Night's daughter. It's her feature debut, although she wrote and directed, I think, 6 episodes of the TV series that he is the showrunner for, Servant. And she adapts a novel for this film that definitely has kind of an M. Night feel about it.
Yeah, the novel's written by A.M. Shine, and I believe that's the debut novel for A.M. Shine, just the only one out there. So
it's a great book. You should look it up.
Yeah, and it's got a very interesting premise. I think all you have to do is watch the trailer and you think, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that sounds interesting.
And it sounds like something, a family affair. It sounds like something that you would expect M. Night Shyamalan to make, where, you see she's got it's Dakota Fanning. She's in this ancient Irish wood. Her car has stopped working, and she's in the middle of a forest. There's clearly something menacing in the forest, and a woman opens a door to a shack, sort of a thing, and says, "You have 5, 4."
Right.
Then she, and it does a great job of building this tension. And then inside of it, one wall is a 2-way mirror, and every night after dark, all of the forest monsters come out and watch them like some sort of a reality TV show.
Well, that's the thing. Right away, that taps in. It's a very in-the-moment feel of our voyeuristic community now, whether it's on social media or whatever. Everybody is just used to the fact that there's no privacy anymore.
Yeah, there is an audience watching. And it looks good. The movie looks good. The sort of production design is great. The cast, especially the supporting cast, does a really great job. There are 2 things, one right from the beginning and then one you don't realize until about 2/3 of the way through, that really hamper the film. The one is that it's so superficially Irish. Irish horror tends to be one of like the fae folk, your halflings and your changelings and your whatnot that live in their ancient woods, and they can be terrifying. But this one is so superficial about how it is Irish that it feels really forced and hollow.
Well, that's helped by that great the actress Olwen, and helped by her last name, Ferrer.
I think it's Fuer.
Okay. But she's always a welcome sight.
She is.
And of
you'll
course,
know
Dakota
her.
Fanning is always good.
Yeah, and you'll know her if you don't know the name. She's very striking with a lot of white hair. She is always great. Dakota Fanning does a good job. It's a pretty low-key role, so it doesn't have a lot of charisma, but I think that the cast around her really helps. But the other problem that the movie has, which, at first you don't know because you don't see the fae folk. You don't see these monsters for a long time, and then when you finally do, they are just CGI and they're not very good.
Yes, that's
And there's a lot of
disappointing.
them, and eventually you see a lot of them, and at no point do they look good, and that really, any sort of lingering hope you have for the movie that it's kind of going to right itself evaporates. And that's just disappointing.
It
so I
is.
was really sorry about that.
Anytime you have a creature feature, I mean, we often bring up the movie Mama from years ago and how disappointing that CGI creature was. So that can be very disappointing. Also, you've got sort of a double-edged sword here with the director. With that last name, okay, it gets you attention. It also brings a set of, I wouldn't really call it baggage, but that last name, expectation of a twist ending.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about, just a few weeks ago, David Cronenberg's daughter had her first feature debut. And it is. I mean, when you have a lineage like that, and you've decided not only to become a filmmaker like your very famous dad, but you decided also to make the same genre of film.
Right.
I mean, it's, you might have to, their high expectations will be set.
It's also similar in the last movie that M. Night made, that her dad made, was that Knock at the Cabin. I believe that was his last one. Also based on a book, and it sort of brings up similarities. Not really a big twist ending, but a little something.
Yeah, well, and it also reminded me, what it reminded me of also was Old.
Yeah.
Because that was one of those, like, you saw the trailer, you're like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Where are they going to go with this?
That's
Couldn't wait
the
to
problem.
see it. And then
how are you going to get out of it?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a great setup.
Yeah.
How do you get out of it?
Yeah.
And not as well. Certainly in Old, they didn't.
No.
Not at all.
No.
And this one here has the same trouble, not only with skimping, I guess, on the creature of the creature feature. So in that part, it is disappointing.
Yeah.
And that is in the theaters now, and it's called The Watchers. Let's go to Netflix next for an action crime comedy. A professor moonlighting as a hitman of sorts for his city police department descends into dangerous, dubious territory when he finds himself attracted to a woman who enlists his services. It's called Hitman.
Remember the lady came in trying to have her husband killed that we let go?
No, that he let go.
Yeah, her husband was just found dead.
I'm sorry, what happened?
From my perspective, you're getting a little sloppy. You think you're Gary? The hitman.
My name is Gary Johnson, and my simple question for you is, who is your hitman?
We'll see.
Hold up, please don't let me be misunderstood.
I kind of feel bad, when what we're saying is stay home and watch one on your TV.
I know.
But this is the highlight, man. This is the good one.
This was a blast. It is Richard Linklater. He's directing and he's co-writing, with the star Glenn Powell.
Nice.
They based this on a magazine article from years ago, the early 2000s, based around a real guy named Gary Johnson, who really did go undercover in various disguises as a fake hitman, trying to find people who were, trying to
hire a hitman. Yeah,
hire a hitman. So that part is real, but they're very open about the fact. But then they do some serious embellishing with this guy's life, and it's a lot of fun. It's interesting. Number one, Glenn Powell, and he's, of course, really coming into his own as a movie star right now. He's got a lot of charisma, a lot of charm in this movie. He starts out, he is a professor, psychology professor, and he's got a propensity for gadgets. So what he does, he starts moonlighting with the police in the surveillance van, doing the wiretapping and all that. But then their undercover man gets busted for some shady activities as a cop, and he gets suspended. Well, who are they going to get to go in there and be the undercover guy? It's Gary.
It's Gary. I love that his name is Gary.
Yeah,
by the
and
way.
then he becomes Ron, the hitman, and he really leans into these new identities. He loves it, and he has a real talent for it. So before you know it, he's dressing up differently each time and taking on a new identity. And when they go through the montage, after you really see him do it once, then they go through a montage of different disguises. And one of them, they're all funny, but one of them, when he does a flat-out impression of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, it is a scream. It really is. So the movie is fun. It's well-paced. It's funny. And then things take a turn when Ron, the fake hitman, is contacted by this woman named Madison, played by Adria Arjona, and she was from Morbius, in case anybody saw that. And she wants her abusive husband killed. Well, this time Ron talks her out of doing that, and next thing you know, they're in a steamy love affair.
What?
And then next thing you know, the abusive husband turns up dead anyway.
Uh-oh.
So now the body heat is on. So they're suspects. Who knows what? The actual cops that he's working for don't know that they had an affair, and all this stuff is going on. And it's just fun. It has that feel of you've got the disguises that can be like a Fletch or even a spy.
Yeah.
And then you've got the sex appeal of like an Ocean's 11, the glitz and the glamour. It really works. It's breezy. Linklater has a real nice sense of pace with this. Sometimes it feels like a throwback. And then it also feels, speaking of in the moment, because it also has something to say about our identity challenge times.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a new identity, living different lives on social or whatever. And then the fact that can you change? Can you change yourself? And if you can, that starts with being honest about the kind of person that you are. So it actually has a message, but it's just a blast getting there. And this is one that I think is going to really go over well and just cement Glenn Powell's rising star.
Yeah.
Because actually co-writing this script as well.
I want to point out, though, Linklater is so impressive in how versatile he is as a director. Because, of course, he's known so much for the very sort of lyrically realistic films like the Before Sunrise and, of course, Boyhood.
Oh, my God.
But then for him to be able to step in and do something that's so slick and commercial, but still make it a great, great film. I love him.
Apparently, screenwriters have been taking a stab at adapting this guy's story for years, and they finally got it done. And also, Arjona does a very good job as well as the maybe femme fatale, and they have a lot of great chemistry. She and Powell have great chemistry together. So the whole thing just works as a blast of fun, especially if you like these. I mean, it's not a heist, but it almost has a heist quality about it.
Right, yeah.
And, I love the heist films.
I know that you do.
So this is a real crowd pleaser, a real winner, and it is on Netflix now called Hitman. Let's go back to the big screen for a horror mystery. On a hot summer day in Oslo, the dead mysteriously awaken, and 3 families are thrown into chaos when their deceased loved ones come back to them. Who are they, and what do they want? It's called Handling the Undead.
Jag älskar dig, vare sig du vill eller inte. Pappa! Jag älskar dig, vare sig du vill eller inte.
Well, I'll tell you what they want. Well, I'm not going to tell you what they want. They're zombies. What do you think they want? No, one of the things I love about this movie is that it takes a minute before, it dwells in areas where the typical zombie movie does not, before it takes a turn.
Yeah, it really spends a lot of time before the zombies get to zombieing.
Right.
It really does. It's so atmospheric, and it's the co-writer and director, Thea Havistinal. It's a Norwegian name in a Norwegian film, so I butchered that, and I'm sorry. But one of the things that got our attention, too, is the co-writer is the writer of the source novel, same guy that wrote Let the Right One In.
That's right.
Man,
Yes.
so good. And it's very similar because if you remember Let the Right One In, that really examined these unexpected emotional bonds between a human and a vampire.
Yep.
Now you bring zombies into the same sort of conversation because, as the synopsis said, you got 3 families. One, a elderly man, his daughter are mourning the death of their son/grandson, young boy. And then you've got an elderly woman mourning her longtime partner. And then you've got a family, a man and his children coming to grips with the sudden death of their wife and mother and thinking that they're going to lose her. So you basically focus on these 3 families. And then there's this weird electromagnetic event in Oslo. And next thing you know, the dead aren't so dead anymore. And like I said, what do they want? And it's very interesting because the first 2 acts of the movie, it's so deliberate in its pace and its atmosphere to just really dwell on. It's bleak. It is bleak. The sorrow, the deep grieving of these families and who they've lost. It really centers on that, so much so that it's almost, you think that's all the movie is. And then when it takes a turn and the zombies do start zombieing, like you said, it's muted. It's more of a subtle gruesomeness. You get the idea.
Yeah.
You definitely do. But then it really is ruminating on grief and how much of grief is inward selfish almost.
Yeah.
To the point where it's, how far is this grief going to push us until we realize we've got to move on. So there's some serious messages here, and it does recall something like Let the Right One In because of the emotional connection between the living and the undead.
Right.
And it's also had some great performances. Renata Resvi, who was so great in The Worst Person in the World. She plays the mom of the young boy. She is fantastic. Also, Anders Danielson Lee, who was also in The Worst Person in the World.
Right.
And Personal Shopper. He's the dad in the family. They're both great, and the supporting cast is very, very strong. Just be ready. I mean, I did like this movie. It really takes a turn once the zombie action kicks in, but it is muted to the point where it helps it become a lot more palatable. Like if it just went from the first 2 acts to just outright carnage, like wow, that's just too much of a whiplash. But it doesn't do that, and it becomes very, very emotional. And again, just be ready. This is a bleak movie.
Yeah.
It is bleak. Also be aware there is a scene of extreme cruelty to an animal in this movie. It's a rabbit, not a real rabbit, but be aware of that. And it all about grief and sorrow and moving on. But it is well done, and especially if you enjoy horror, because I would still call this a horror movie.
Sure.
And a zombie movie, just a different kind, a different take.
Yep.
It's definitely worth it, and it is called Handling the Undead in theaters now. All right, back to VOD for a horror thriller. A group of young people go to a remote marijuana farm where they hope to make quick cash. But they discover the location's dark secrets and now must try to escape the mountain on which they are trapped. It's trim season.
It is a very powerful substance to be honored, respected, and serviced.
Maybe I should have been a little more specific.
We gotta get out of here, like now. Sweet dreams.
You'll never understand. If she wants to, Mona can control the whole mountain.
Whatever's going on at N's house?
We spent years perfecting the soil to crack open the secret. We finally got it right.
This one, a lot of things are going to feel, I think, familiar about this one because it's a sort of a cabin in the woods movie. It's a
but you called it Cannabis in the Woods.
I did call it Cannabis in the Woods. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you. Some youngsters who are down on their luck and they can't really pay their bills, and they take up an offer to head out and make a bunch of money, $5,000 in 2 weeks, trimming pot out at this isolated place out on a mountain. And of course, once they get out there, things are a little more sinister than they were told they would be. And then there is this family who runs this small farm, and it's led by matriarch Mona, played by Jane Badler. Now, right away there's something seriously wrong with her and with her sons and with the whole affair. And what it is, it winds up being a combination of sort of a cabin in the woods and a supernatural horror. One of the biggest problems is that Badler's she's a scenery chewer, and I suppose the character calls for it. But this is the juiciest character in the whole
had the munchies.
Film. Yeah, she had the munchies. There's no depth to her. You know what I mean? Like, I love a good villain, and I feel like on paper this probably was a good villain, but it comes off very superficial and campy, but the movie doesn't call for that. Like, nothing else in the movie is campy. Nothing. It's actually, it's funny. It's the first sort of pot horror film that I've seen that is not a comedy in any way.
Yeah.
It takes itself very seriously, which is a nice change of pace. But, there are a handful of additional shortcomings. Not all of the cast is very strong, although there are a handful of cast members who are very strong. But it comes down to, I think the third act comes up short. And again, I think the central villain just can't anchor the movie.
Director is Ariel Vida. The writers David Blair, Sean E. DeMott, and Cullen Polythres. And I got to give a shout-out to the actress that plays Emma because her name is Bethlehem Million.
Yeah, it's a great name.
That is a grade A name.
That is.
Fantastic. That one is in select theaters and VOD now. It's called Trim Season. Stay with VOD for a drama. A teenager on the cusp of turning 15 straddles the line between childhood and adulthood when she is forced to move in with her father and his younger girlfriend after her mother's death. It's called Edge of Everything.
How long has he been with this girlfriend?
Can you please put your plate in the dishwasher?
I hate being treated like a kid.
Why does it matter you smoke?
Now, when I was 14.
Why didn't you tell me that your mom died? Oh, I didn't think it mattered.
Are you guys having a baby? I think freshman year just kind of sucks because no one really takes you seriously.
Ugh. All right. Oh my God.
Tell me what you're doing. Hey, open this door right now. We've been sitting here waiting for you. Abby, open this door.
My friends and I just roam the streets every weekend.
Got the goods.
All I ever want is just to go home.
You don't have to eat here.
But I can't.
Christy Robb reviewed this one for us at madwolf.com. And it's a drama. It's a coming-of-age film. It's about grief. There's a lot that is going well for it. Not all of it pans out, but Sierra McCormick, who plays the lead role, is magnificent. Christy says there are times when she's so authentic, you forget it's acting that you're watching.
It was great to see her again because anybody that saw The Vast of Night a few years ago, which is a great movie, she was really good in that as a young actress, and you could foresee a bright future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's nice to see that. The co-writers and directors are Pablo Feldman and Sofia Sabella, Edge of Everything. And Christy Robb has the review. You can find it for the full review at madwolf.com. And Edge of Everything is on VOD now. And one more on VOD, a drama. While Thomas and Oscar are very much in love after their first foster child returns to his birth mother, they find that they have different ideas about what making a family actually means. It's called the Medicine family.
Come on, it feels like everyone we know is either having kids or talking about having kids.
I'm looking at options for us.
Let's find out if you're fertile. You're not doing this for us. You're doing this for you.
You and I decided this. You were devastated.
I was devastated. What about you?
I don't want to be a father. I don't.
What does that mean for us?
I feel like I already lost you.
You want to look back on your life and know that you fought when things got hard.
Rachel Willis reviewed this one for us at madwolf.com. She was really looking forward to it. She was excited to get a chance to see it, but was disappointed in the final product. It's got a lot going for it, but it relies really heavily on voiceover exposition.
Right.
Like way too heavily, because the performances are solid, and it seems like it wouldn't be necessary. And it really takes you out of the emotion that the rest of the film is trying to build. So, yeah, just a disappointment.
The director, Andy Valentine, the writer, Danny Valentine, and that is on VOD, now called The Medicine Family. Okay, time to get hip to some studio news.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
It's lobby time. That means it's Daniel Baldwin time. It's Schlocketeer time. We're checking in with Daniel for the latest news and notes from the studios. What's going on?
Well, first off, Jane Schoenbrand's I Saw the TV Glow arrives 1 week from today on VOD on June 14th.
Yay.
And that very same day, Dev Patel's action movie Monkey Man will be hitting Peacock.
That's another one that not enough people saw.
No,
and that's a good action flick.
And then a few days later, on June 18th, John Krasinski's If will hit premium VOD. And there's also a Netflix documentary called Black Barbie arriving on June 19th. And Kung Fu Panda 4 will hit Peacock on June 21st.
Fun one.
pivoting a little bit, Oscilloscope will give the French vampire film The Vordelok a limited theatrical release on June 28th.
We just got a link to it yesterday.
You had me at French vampire.
Lee Tamahori's period piece action thriller with Guy Pearce in it called The Convert is premiering on VOD on July 12th. And moving into fall, Neon will give Sean Baker's highly acclaimed new film Anora a limited theatrical release on October 18th.
Cannes winner.
Yeah, that was the big winner, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not ready to move into fall just yet, but look forward to that.
Yes.
Well, how about 2026?
Sure, why not?
Got a bunch of movie announcements for that, since those things will probably start shooting this fall. First up, Universal has set an April 2026 release for Super Mario Bros. 2. A month later, in May 2026, Disney will release their next Star Wars movie, which will be Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian and Grogu, which, of course, is a theatrical follow-up to the Disney Plus show The Mandalorian.
Yeah. And a lot of people love that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Disney's also set a June 2026 release date for Pixar's Toy Story 5. You will once again have a friend in me.
I so didn't want number 4, and it was great.
It was so good.
Yeah, they're probably going to do it again.
Probably.
Warner Brothers has set a June 2026 release date for Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which I guess will follow on from James Gunn's Superman, and that comes out next year.
Mm-hmm.
Universal has also set a June 2026 release date for Fast X Part 2, which will close out the family saga just in time for the series' 25th anniversary.
Good Lord.
Wow.
5
years.
And then, speaking of superheroes with vehicles...
Speaking of dead horses. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, hopefully none of these are dead, because the next movie is Paramount's Paw Patrol 3 in July 2026. It might get a little dark for the kids as we get down that
a little bit.
I got two more for you. Paramount set an October 2026 release for their sequel to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And finally, yesterday, Lionsgate announced a November 2026 release for the Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping, which will, I guess, center around the game event where Woody Harrelson's character first survived when he was younger.
Oh, or they're just going to keep going further back in time?
Probably. I guess this one's between the one that came out last year and the original. Probably.
All right.
I'm sure Woody will get a nice narration check out of it.
All right. You can always catch up on the latest. Follow Daniel on the socials at The Schlocketeer. Thanks again.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Looking ahead to next week, we've got a couple big ones we've been waiting on. Inside Out 2 comes out next week.
Also Tuesday.
Coma.
Reverse the Curse.
One called Banal and Adama.
Ride.
Latency.
And Queen Tut, which is going to be reviewed by our new film critic, Eva, who also is here today right now because she is going to be our Mad Wolf intern for the summer. Our intern for the summer. I forgot the word intern.
A lot of 1- and 2-word titles next week, so we'll see how that pans out. But what about this week? What do you think? Do you love the Bad Boys franchise? Are we crazy? Set us straight. Keep the conversation going. Also, The Watchers or Hitman or anything this week or even the past few weeks. Things you've seen, keep the conversation going. You can find us easily on Facebook and Instagram and Threads at Mad Wolf Columbus. The main website is madwolf.com, where you can find all of our written reviews and our other horror movie only podcast called Fright Club. That's all there for you. So hope you'll check it out. Hope you keep in touch. Have a great week. And until next week, she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Screening Room Podcast.
See ya.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap.